Thanks, Jimmy.
And it's going?
Good to go? Yep.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. It says can't connect. There we go. I was like, it just said can't connect. All right. Call to order the committee of the whole meeting for Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. I'd like to start this meeting off in a good way by acknowledging that we are gathered on the Treaty 8 First Nations territory, the long-standing presence of the elders and the ancestors of Treaty 8. And through this acknowledgement, we extend a recognition and respect to the BC Treaty 8 First Nations and all those who call the Peace Country home. Item number 3, adoption of agenda. I'd like to recommend that the Committee of the Whole adopt the November 12, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting agenda. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Wall. Thank you. Any discussion regarding items on tonight's agenda? I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor? And that is unanimous and carried. Introduction of late items, there's none. Public hearings, none. Delegations, none. Items number 7, unfinished business and business arising from the minutes. Now this is in there, it says that there's a recommendation, but the recommendation is not on the agenda.
That's correct. Forgive me, Your Worship, it's a placeholder, more or less.
Yeah. Okay. But this does still need to be moved to the regular council meeting, does it not?
In my opinion, Your Worship, this was a staff's attempt to try to clarify with the Committee of the Whole what the Committee of the Whole's procedural practices would be. If there was a recommendation that arose from the report, then yeah, it would be appropriate as a recommendation to council, and council can.
Okay, then I would like to move item 7.1, Committee of the Whole procedural practices, to the floor for discussion. Can I get a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Wall. Thank you. I was reviewing the procedural practices. I'd like to say a big thank you to Mr. Malcolmson for all of your work on that. It's been quite the discussion since you've started with us, and I think that you've really hit the nail on the head. From reading the agenda the past couple of days, it's definitely got me thinking. So with that, I'd actually like to make 2 recommendations regarding the Committee of the Whole. So I'm going to make my first one. I'd like to make a recommendation from the committee to the council that they have staff bring back the council procedure bylaw to the next available regular council meeting for review of the council meeting schedule, and that upon review, the councils go back to 2 regular council meetings per month. I could get a seconder on that recommendation. Thank you. What I'm thinking is that we should actually go back to our regular 2 council meetings per month. I know that this body has brought forward concerns in our RCMs that there's almost been a bit of a slowdown of business, but I do like the idea of the Committee of the Whole. So I do have a second recommendation regarding what we should do with the Committee of the Whole based off the information that's been provided. So if there's any questions regarding the recommendation I've just made, Councillor Wall?
From my perspective, with the Committee of the Whole, we are using it we're having too many.
Yes.
Yes. So if we had fewer Committee of the Whole, more council meetings,
yeah.
I am in favor of that. However, there's one small caveat I'd like to add. I don't believe we do need 2 meetings in the summer, in July and August.
Yeah. And then
slows.
I think when we bring back the council procedural bylaw to view that schedule, I think that would be a great time for us to really look at, based off of the schedule we've been running on for the past year. I think that's when we can look at going back to the 1 meeting per month, because that's what it was prior. And then this was our first year doing 2 over the summer, and you're right, I found that there really wasn't a lot.
1 page.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah.
1 page agendas.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, well, summer, that's when we're putting the budget in practice, right? So everybody's so busy, and I found it took up a lot of office time. Is actually what I found. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can discuss that.
Yeah.
Council meeting and go through there.
Yeah.
But I would like to continue to see Committee of the Wholes. And on another note regarding that, I would like to also see, if we don't continue with Committee of the Wholes, I would like the opportunity for items to be on the agenda. Maybe an agenda or 2 in advance as an information item, so we have time to really think it through and go through with a fine-tooth comb and maybe discuss it, and go, actually, no, it's going to be on the next meeting.
Yeah.
But if there is a decision that could be made, we have that option in a council meeting where we don't hear it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Any other comments regarding the current recommendation?
As I've mentioned previously, I think we should go back to just standard regular council meetings. It gets a bit confusing, and it seems like it's confusing for staff because of which body is communicating which, you know, if the committee of the whole doesn't have the power to set direction or set anything else, then it has to continually be referred back as some sort of recommendation, and then it gets us into these triple layered motions, which are rather confusing. They're interesting, but come on, let's get this done. So I am in favor of moving back to just purely regular council meetings and then to simplify it, but then also I appreciate member opposite's suggestion of if there's something that has large scale impacts or needs or potentially could have some larger scale discussion, if we've got ourselves in a fashion where we can have that come forward 1-2 meetings prior, so we have time for discussion, so we can approach it as an informational or discussionary item, then we can kind of have that time, have our sober second thought, continually do more research. I find that in these discussions, you know, points are brought up, I go, oh, I hadn't thought of that, right? And then that gives us time to refer back to it, come and approach it later. So I'm in favor of regular council meetings for everything, so that we're not tied up with who approves which minutes, which things have to be continually moved forward. As an example of tonight, we have to have a special meeting afterwards, and that's just putting it as excessive works. So anyways, that's my point. I'm curious though, through you, Madam Chair, the member opposite, if I may, essentially, what then, when we're talking about, what would the member opposite be interested in regards to the committee of the whole? Is it the discussionary space that's gifted to us?
I actually think, not to answer on your behalf, but I think my next recommendation, just in conversations we've all had, might meet you both in the middle. So
I don't like the committee of the whole.
I know. So
Yeah, I'm curious.
I just like seeing things in advance,
Yeah.
especially bylaws, right?
Can we save that for my next recommendation, and then Councillor Wall could maybe sort of talk on that, because that one's revolving around the committee of the whole?
I'm curious as to what this
Yeah,
second
okay.
recommendation is.
All right, so let's vote on the current one, and so that's.
Can you reread it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's that staff bring back the council procedure bylaw to the next available RCM for review of the council meeting schedules, and then upon review that the council go back to 2 regular council meetings per month. Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? Did you have a question or were you voting?
I'll go with.
Okay, that's unanimous and carried. So my second recommendation, through reviewing this and through conversations I've seen within this body, I'd like to make the recommendation that the committee make the recommendation to council that the committee of the whole meetings be used for budget, bylaw, and policy review, as well as future OCP and strat plan reviews as well. And that when a committee of the whole is needed, it happens prior to the regular scheduled council meeting. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Wall. Thank you. Was that kind of what you were thinking?
I was trying to think of a motion that would do that, so I'm in.
Okay, that's, yeah. So that's sort of what I was thinking.
And those are conventionally the things that do take a breadth of discussion. The other piece too is the committee of the whole becomes a public record, which minutes is more formal than us to have some sort of closed or semi-public or whatnot workshop on the side. I'd rather the process of discussion and how this body came to a decision, that process be public. So that's why I would actually prefer that. Yes.
Yeah.
However, then, is it the council which would then strike the committee of the whole, or say that we should have a committee of the whole meeting, or I'm assuming it would be the chair? But how would that come about? It wouldn't be, we wouldn't have to mandate that within the procedural bylaw. It just would be an option made available to us through a parliamentary system, right? Would we strike it? Would it be the chair's discretion? Would we say that we should do it for this in the future? How would we go about scheduling that or entertaining that?
Yeah, I'm actually going to allow Mr. Malcolmson to answer this.
Thank you, Richard. We can provide some options on that when we bring back the bylaw for review. There's a few different ways you can tackle it. One is a bylaw provision, another one is, chair's discretion, or, so that might be the conversation when those reviews happen.
Councillor Wall?
Currently, as our procedure bylaw stands, the mayor or 2 members of council could call either a special council meeting or a committee of the whole meeting at their discretion. I don't see an issue with that, because we need a committee of the whole, the mayor could call a committee of the whole, or 2 councillors could, and.
Well, and really, from the information I've gathered, from the information that Mr. Malcolmson has provided, and just from conversations I've had with other communities over the past few weeks, most of them do normally bring back, budget, bylaw, policy review, OCP, and strat plan reviews to committee of the whole meeting. So going forward, when it came to those things, I think I would automatically move those on to committee of the whole meeting, so we can have those really great in-depth conversations in the public body in a more formal way before moving them to the following RCM. And then the nice thing about that as well is that there are some things, especially because we're currently going through our bylaw revision and our policy reviews here within the municipality. What we could potentially do is, if it's a simple bylaw change or edit, we could put that on the committee of the whole, go through that, and then move into the regular council meeting right after, and then be able to action on it, rather than having to wait those extended periods as well.
So make the recommendations to how to change it or tweak it, and then
yeah, exactly. So it's just it's a bit more of a formal but transparent process as well. Yeah. So, yes.
My final point to it, yes, I'm seeing that we're experiencing functional paralysis because we're forcing ourselves. We've got tools in the toolkit. This is the screwdriver that can go back in the toolkit, and we can use, how we would describe the regular council meeting. But anyways, we're trying to use a screwdriver when we really need to hammer or saw, right? Every single time, it's not getting the job done. So
you and these metaphors, I just love them.
No, but I appreciate that we tried something, we explored it, and we took an approach, and it didn't work out the best. And I'm finding that it's actually putting more burden on everything than anything. But I do want the opportunity still to have discussions, time, and then revisiting it again. That's very appreciated. Whereas when we have a large scale thing that has wide varying implications, and then we immediately have to decide on it, it doesn't give us time for second thought, to go to the community and speak with them, to have the community come to us and say, hey, wait a minute, you started discussing this, and this are a concern, right? I think that's absolutely valid. Getting the high functional pieces to already be committee of the whole, we can mention that in the procedural bylaw, but then having the ability to bring that forward if needed for discussion, like large scale capital improvements and such. So I appreciate the motion, and I will be voting in favor.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments or, no? Okay, I'm gonna call the question then. Would you like me to reread it before I call it?
remember this time.
I'm good.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor? And that is unanimous and carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, moving on to item number 8, new business. 8.1, 2026 Economic Development Work Plan. There are 2 recommendations. I think we should take it as discussion at this point. Can I get a seconder on discussion?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Gravel. Thank you. All right, Councillor Wall.
I am curious about in 8.1 here, Parks and Recreation Master Plan. From, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think we already did this. Did we not?
No, this work was never completed.
Oh, it started.
It was never started.
It was never started?
Or completed.
Oh. All right. Okay. So I'm looking at this here going, this is going to be a lot of work. And I do really think we need the Industrial Growth Development Plan. I really think we need the Infrastructure Master Plan and the Revitalization Tax Exemption, which shouldn't be an insane amount of work, and the Main Street Action Plan. I like those, but what are the thoughts of the committee on the Parks and Rec Plan and the Tourism Strategic Action Plan?
I think the questions that you're asking the committee are great, but I think what also, and I hate to put Miss, is it Ken?
Yes.
I hate to put you on the spot, but do you mind presenting a little bit on this? And then that way you might be able to answer any concerns that the committee has, and you already got it out. Okay. And then that way the community can meet you as our new economic development officer, and welcome to our team. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll man the computer, and then we can kind of go through. Is it okay if I stand right here? I don't mean to be right in your view, but yeah, we can go through each one independently, and then I don't know if it'd be better to discuss it during each task or afterwards?
I think if it's just to keep everybody on topic, I think we should discuss it each kind of
Sure.
slide.
Sure.
And then that way any questions or concerns can be answered as they're kind of coming up. Yes, Councillor Wong?
Well, the reason I asked that question is because I want to make sure that this is an achievable amount of work for the amount of time allocated to the role.
And that's why I think we'll have Miss Can kind of present, and then you can ask her, like, is that, are you feeling that's an achievable goal?
Okay.
Yeah.
So please,
Oh,
the
yeah,
floor
I
is
appreciate
yours.
that. Yeah, thank you. I'll do a little bit of an introduction just so you all know who you'll be working with, because I plan to stay. So I am a new resident of Pooskoopie as of about 2.5 years ago. My husband and I don't have any plans of leaving, which is a short way of saying that we really love it here, and it's led me to want to be more involved. So when this position became available, I jumped on it right away and was really excited about it. Not only because it really aligns with my education, my experience background, but also because, as I mentioned, I want to get involved. I want to meet people who are embracing the change. I want to be a part of that as well. So I'm really happy to be here. That's kind of a really short introduction of who I am. That's
I wanna be here, that's what I care about.
Yeah, I want to be here and I'm eager to get work done, so I feel that's what matters. We can, I guess hopefully everyone is kind of familiar with the report. I'll just preface by saying that we did base all of this on our relevant resources, primarily the older reports, older work plans, programs, projects that are either ongoing or have occurred, and we kind of reference those. We also directly pulled from the regional development plan, we pulled from the official community plan, and then most importantly the strat plan. So these are all of these tasks are a combination of all these resources, specifically from those, and that's kind of how we drafted this together. We'll start off with the revitalization tax exemption bylaw. As you mentioned, it shouldn't be like a too much of a heavy workload for me to start off with, and this is kind of why we prioritize this one as being the first initiative that I'll start with, especially like in next month, and having that be the time that I will ideally create these bylaws and then present it back to council for approval, which then in the new year we can adopt them and make them public. I don't have too many specifics as I haven't actually started creating them yet, but like I said, this will kind of be my first task and first priority that I think we can achieve successfully. So I don't know.
I just have a question. So in creating this tax exemption bylaw, are you going to be working with any of our local businesses that we already have under our commercial zones? Yes. And then my next question is, are you also going to be looking into the other local municipalities and different things that they've done regarding tax exemption as well?
Yes.
I know one of the biggest things that this council has really wanted to push forward is we want to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be different than Dawson Creek, different than Tumbler Ridge, and be a place that really harbors business and change, and bringing people into the community and feeling that this is a place that supports business.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I understand that Dawson Creek's got their way of doing things in Chetwynd and Tumbler, we're also looking to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something that this body has made very, very clear over the past 3 years as well.
The revitalization tax exemption bylaw is a good one to stand out on, because the criteria for eligibility for the statute are kind of wide open. So the idea would be in December we can have a bit of a workshop with council with some options, and you folks can identify what kind of policy goals you want to have in it. And from there we can start crafting a bylaw, engage with the business community, do the research, stuff like that. But there's the legal theories on the full power of the RTE section haven't really been pushed out. But there's talking with some lawyers, there are some pretty wild theories on what kind of activities could be incentivized via the bylaw. So there's a lot of opportunity to get creative there.
Wonderful. Yes, Councillor Wall.
I see this as a great place to start, and we do want to be different than Dawson Creek, but not just different. I think we want to be better.
I'm saying that in a much nicer way.
Yeah.
We've got a press release out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Way better than Dawson Creek.
Oh no. Oh.
No.
Anyway.
Anyway, so so when it comes to things like our industrial zones, I'm assuming the intent behind this is we have a lot of lay yards, and if people improve the value of that by adding new structures or growing their businesses in that way, we can give them like random numbers and pull on the top of my head, don't have to be these, but you get a 50% discount the first year, 25% the next, and
Statutory maximum is 10 years, and the maximum break is 100%.
so we can work that.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be
Wow.
like something like that. I would really want to see. I just want to make sure that's this. So
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, and we'll probably see, just as we go through these, a lot of overlap, which was intentional. So we're gonna, like, especially the points that you brought up in reaching out to regional communities and ongoing programs. I think we'll see a lot of overlap in a lot of these initiatives, and how they all kind of
Reinforce each other.
Yeah, they work together, reinforce each other, but also serve their own purpose. So just stating that, because like I might end up repeating myself a little bit, but I'm really happy to have this conversation because it also does create more clarity for me as well.
Councillor Rabble, do you have a question?
Yeah, if I may, regarding the revitalization tax exemption bylaw, yeah, I know it says residential commercial. I'm assuming that industrial would also be included, or various zoning, because of course that's where we get it. But with commercial and industrial, that's kind of the one that we get more from it than it costs us, versus residential, it costs us more than we get from it. But with it, of course, we want to strike this balance between the municipality gaining the revenue that it needs to operate, but also having incentives available for folks to develop so that they're able to enjoy, this advancement, and also they might, become, who knows, they'll have to capitalize it, they might become debt laden or whatever. So they obviously are going to have to service those debts or other things incurred to experience this greater, usage or whatnot. But anyways, with that, that's incentivizing them. But what I'm getting at is we have to find that kind of balance between, well, I guess already we're getting whatever taxes from that lot anyways. So any improvements just gravy on top for us, really. Although they would be potentially using more services and whatnot, but that might be covered by the service charges. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out where that balance would be between all of it. It's not really a question, it's more of a statement, but
He's thinking.
Your Worship, that's a policy decision for council to make. It's a debate for you guys to have.
Yeah.
There are different levels of scalability. You can even go beyond. Theoretically, you could even go beyond the differential between the base value and the increase in assessed value through people, investing in their properties. That presents a tax exposure for the village, but it depends what kind of incentive, what kind of behavior you guys want to incentivize.
interesting. So not off the increase in value, but actually potentially within the value itself.
You could go to base value. Yeah. You can get pretty heavy-handed.
Huh. That's interesting. Thank you.
that'd be a very good incentive,
Yes.
and it would pay itself back in the end.
That's the idea.
That's the idea, yeah.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Please.
So another is Main Street Action Plan, and this is really with the objective of continuing the efforts that are ongoing, but seeing real progression, specifically in coordinating with stakeholders, and then identifying specifics, beautification, for example, and where the funding may come from to create a plan that I will also report back and move forward with. So while we don't have more specifics other than where we know we want to start and whom I will be able to contact, it's more about drafting that plan for approval and as well as funding.
To add on to Taya's comments, this is listed as a long-term priority in your guys' strategic plan. And this is and the wording for the strat plan is revitalize Main Street. I think our goal is making sure that we're focused on what's achievable within Taya's frame of mind. So the idea here would be to
work a task list of implementable, small things to improve experience, downtown, and, basically start knocking those things off once it's approved by council. So not necessarily rethink the wheel, external contractor, fancy design, kind of guidelines, but what can we tangibly do to try to improve downtown?
Wonderful.
Any questions on that?
Councilor Rebel?
If I may, the scope of this intention, would it be this one block here of our kind of institutional civic corridor, or would it also include kind of the commercial areas as they stretch out along the highway? What would be the scope of this work?
I think initially we would prioritize Main Street or 50th, I believe. And then, like you made a great point with the welcome sign, that would play into this, but again, it would be funding dependent. We are actually already working with NDIT for some grants, especially on signage, so that immediately kind of pinged that idea for me. Yes, exactly. So I would say both, but I think it's more about, as Duncan said, what's going to be the most approachable and realistic in our timeline and money.
Yes,
If I may as well, is this superficial improvements like lamp standards, sidewalks, garden beds, that kind of stuff, or are we looking at the actual infrastructure improvements below grade?
It's not limited to, but it will be both, and that kind of goes back to me saying how some of these points will overlap as we will talk about infrastructure a little bit, but this one does sort of emphasize beautification, sidewalks, and that will come up again as well. I'm sorry, I don't mean to repeat myself, but
no worries.
yeah, any other questions?
No, that makes sense.
So moving on to infrastructure, we did sort of label this as phase 2 just because, and I think it's important to note that we do want to prioritize this as a priority in the strat plan specifically, but with the underground assessment currently ongoing, led by Public Works, that's why we labeled it as phase 2, is because until that is completed.
Yeah, that mapping is kind of phase 1.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when that has been completed and we understand what we'll actually be able to work with, once the underground work is done, then we can focus on streets, sidewalks, trails, and that does again tie into that beautification and revitalization. But it'll just be a little bit of a longer timeline dependent on the ongoing project.
And that's something that's really, really exciting for this body and the community, is that within 2025 we are going to actually get phase 1 completed. I think the plan is to have it completed in the next month. Is that correct, Mr. Wilkinson?
Depends on scope. There is some, pressure testing and some. So curb stops, yes.
Yes.
There's some, pressure testing that I think we can do on the water side next year to help us map out some vulnerabilities on the water system, or in the water system. And there might be a little bit of camera work that we can do in 26 as well to try to determine vulnerabilities on the sewer side. So there's a little bit of outstanding work. Thankfully, we've digitized some good historical documents recently that can help make that a bit of an easier effort to try to map things out and make more comprehensive condition assessments. I suppose, in one frame of mind, there's a decision point for council on what kind of data it wants to underpin its capital plan, because we can get granular and we can get more particular, but you do have a baseline in some asset mapping and asset management work that's previously been done, like the date of install of certain pipes and certain subdivisions. So there is a viable strategy if you guys wish to move ahead right now. The approach that we were at least trying to develop for council consideration for budget 26 was to have a little bit more data, to base that mapping on and to base the replacement schedule on. So.
Yeah. And if I am correct, once this mapping is completed, this is the first time this mapping has been done
to this level, yes.
To this level, yeah.
There are maps that have been pulled from what seems to be kind of public source utility models, like water mapping that's been done via engineered studies in the past, but they don't have granular details of specific service connections. It appears to only have main lines, but we do have some good built, like, I don't know if it's IFTs per se, like not issued for tender or anything like that. We do have some good drawings that have been submitted as part of subdivision plans from the 80s and actually way further back, you know, all the way up to today, that we can probably use as a good basis to triangulate things, so.
So that's one very exciting win.
That was the
Sure.
longest way
Yes.
I've ever heard someone say, we're trying to figure out where things are.
It was so elegantly put, because we've never really figured out where things are, and so that is a win for
It's a huge
this
win.
body and our village staff and our team and our community, so that's everybody's gotta give them all selves like one of these, and
It's already started adding value, having some of those documents digitized, because we've been able to determine some responsibilities with the province on some, you know, there's been some back and forth
Yeah.
on, okay, is this particular section of storm your responsibility or our responsibility? So it's been helpful on that already, but I appreciate it, thank you.
wonderful, thank you, sorry for stealing your
No,
mic.
that's
Sorry for being so blunt.
Yeah. Yes, Councilor Rebel.
Well, I do appreciate this work. It is needed. The hope that I think that would best serve council, obviously, would be something that says this is what needs to be replaced, this is the priority, you know, these are the costs that we're estimating. It can help us with asset management, capital planning, revenue generation, and figuring out how everything lines up there and what's tackleable and how soon everything is. You know, if everything's over 80 years old and we've got to replace it all tomorrow, that's a scary situation. But if things are in gradual states of decay, then we can figure out which ones we can target first, just as our overland flow study revealed, right, for our water and stormwater systems. However, the one question I've got is it possible to kind of pencil in that this be presented to council in September, October 2026? Because yes, because with November 26, these chairs might be seated otherwise.
We'd have different butts in them. Even if we could just get like the rough cut.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because this would be actually pretty complicated for someone new sitting in the seat, but not knowing all the work behind it.
They're just really gonna rely on Mr. Melkinson and his hand to give them the whole hopeful breakdown of what this body was, you know, hoping to achieve.
Yes.
But I do understand the want to be like, I wanna know.
How it turned out, yeah.
Like, we can mark that as an amendment when we get out of this section there, a recommended amendment to council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because if we could approve these things this term, that would be great.
Or even better, yeah.
Fair enough.
Fair, yeah.
Alright, so Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we do not currently have a plan.
No, we don't have one
So-
started either, yeah.
No, and that is the objective, is we do have this discontinue, there is planning, but we want to draft, a 5-year capital forecast that we can present to ideally be, approved. So this will look like evaluating in and out of house scopes, working with contractors, working with different stakeholders to identify the gaps that are needed. And this also kind of relates to the same kind of phase process of the infrastructure plan that we'll be working on. So I can name some specifics, and I know that there are some certain areas that we want to see improvement before others. And that would be the plan, was to create the phase of how we can approach it, but it will be dependent on the funding for the outsourcing of contracting and stakeholders, et cetera.
We do have a couple of applications out right now that I think tangentially relate to this, that I think we can kind of plug this into. But I think that might inform the management approach on the master plan, if you will. Like, you do in-house it to get it done, you know, within the proper amount of time. We probably need to kind of condense the scope a little bit and make it a little bit less formal. But yeah, if there's an out-of-house approach, then you might get something more comprehensive that includes capital forecasting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think the hope is to do as much of the planning in-house prior to.
True enough.
Yeah.
True enough. Yeah, it's a good point.
And it would be a plan that kind of entails playground, sports, fields, trails, etc. Even if that's where the phase approach kind of comes in, to focus on one.
Yeah.
That takes one contractor and another contractor, engineers, for example.
Right.
Because originally we were going to focus on one park specifically, but we decided that a master plan is a better approach, just
Yeah.
because then we can have that 5-year capital forecast
Yeah.
versus just one park alone.
Yes.
Even though that one's important.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. They are.
Which park was that?
Oh, sorry, it's.
Oh,
the-
oh, yeah.
This one ends.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the village office park.
I didn't know if we were talking about that one or that one, so I was like, which
You
one?
guys want me to talk?
Yeah, you know what, I'm saying whatever you want me to be saying.
Just a show.
No, wonderful, thank you.
Any further questions? Moving on to tourism. So this one actually is a little bit more exciting for me, only because I do think that it directly aligns with creating that identity of Pouce Coupe that differentiates us from the different towns and communities. And the way that I want to do this is by coordinating with organizations, communities, municipalities, specifically in creating small projects that we could start on. For example, signage, the Alaska Highway, partnerships. And I think that this would be a great way to kind of enhance our profile, not only for tourism, but also in a strategic way, because coordinating with stakeholders and deepening the tourism experience not only draws more people in, but it's going to maybe make the village appear to be more attractive in whatever way that may be, and also just continuous ongoing work with regional communities.
Win-win there too. Like, as we were kind of doing some research on this, you know, Dawson's current recreation and tourism strategy that they redid in 23, 22, something like that.
I think it's 22.
Identifies partnerships, you know, with Pouce at a few different touch points. So it's just kind of, hey, here's your opportunity to check that box off your list, Dawson Creek. Let's get some programs going.
Wonderful.
And again, the scope on this one, using the same vernacular of action plan, you know, the idea being not reinvent the wheel, you know, get the right heads in the room, you know, local stakeholders, you know, leaders, you know, of the village, and we'll see if we can work that task list, present it to council, and move forward.
I know that in the past, we've often worked with our tourism through a lot of our museum committee, which of course, one of the issues that Pouce Coupe does struggle with is it is often the same group of individuals that is volunteering for every board, and they're filling every seat because younger people aren't quite able to fill those. And so that is really sort of stretching those volunteers quite thin. I know in the past they have worked with Mr. Ackerman, who is our grant writer, but they just really needed some more heavier support and direction. And so I'm really, really hoping that your meetings with them and you know, planning kind of goes well. But I thank the museum board. They've been holding strong for quite a while. It's been a lot of the same faces for over a decade, and I think they've got a lot of great ideas. They just really struggle finding that direction on how to make those ideas a reality going forward. And so I'm really, really hopeful that your communication with them will sort of help get some of that figured out, like the wayfinding signage and
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, and especially that face-to-face communication and
stuff.
just creating like the initiative.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, as you said, it can create stagnation, and then
Yeah.
when you're working with technology, and then how do we advance here, change this, and yeah.
Yes, Councilor Wall.
One of the ideas you have in here I really, really like, and that's that wayfinding signage. If I may just bring something up, there is a community called Ioko down in Port Moody, and it's a historic little community, and what they have is they have little QR codes. So there's actually a spot right as soon as you walk in, and it's like this old-timey person standing there. It's like a sign, but you can scan it with your QR code, and you can actually walk around and see on your phone what things used to look like, and you're like a guided tour of the community. Yeah, like, oh, this happened here on this date or whatever. And every so often there's just a little landmark where there's actually just little signs. If you're not following the digital tour, it's still an obvious self-guided tour. But I found it really interesting. Is something like that what you had in mind for this? Because if it is, I'm like really
No,
excited.
not specifically, but I do love that idea.
Okay.
And then another thing too, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the museum board did meet with members of this body probably about 3 months ago regarding a new digital sign that they would like to purchase and potentially put on the school is where they're hoping. They have reached out to us. I know in tracking down and kidnapping Mr. Malkinson and getting him into this position, that sort of fell on the wayside, but that is definitely something that this board would like to see. And then that sort of adds to a bit of that tourism stuff as well, because they're wanting everybody to be able to put on different things that they have going on. If the library has, you know, something coming up for Halloween or spring, they can have it on that board. The museum can use it, the Legion can, and then that's visible from the highway as well. So in conversation with them, the museum did send in a letter to the village.
I have it on my desktop, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's, in the request there's a dollar figure that's kind of in there, you know, what
Yeah.
the village would want to. Andy has been working with them to identify funding opportunities that might help, you know, move things along a little bit as well, but
Okay.
yeah, it might need to be a budget conversation.
Yeah, and so that might be another bit of a, don't be surprised if that comes up.
Right.
Fortunately, I did just learn about this last week. So.
Okay, perfect, not today,
Yeah.
even better.
Any
Yes,
other
Councilor
questions?
Raffles?
If I may, it's not really questions, and I don't mean to set some sort of personal crusade, and it kind of ties in with a strategic plan, but there's a couple of pieces that I've always been thinking of that could work in Poos. Like member opposite, refresh and digitization of our existing and increasing our existing history walk, like a lot of the local buildings do have some sort of plaque. You could use a refresh. I think that was 10, 15 years ago it was done. Integration with a QR code, working with that. There's Tourism BC grants galore, and they already have a basis of all kinds of fun things. There's all kinds of magazines that are published in all this. My understanding is we no longer have a tourism information center. I think it used to be the museum, and there's a specific designation process for that, and then staffing requirements and a whole bunch of other various things. But of course, if we had a tourism information center, we automatically get into all these different pamphlets, flyers, magazines, yes, digital maps online and stuff as people follow up the Alaska Highway. Obviously, we're the true start of the Alaska Highway here, so a lot of folks,
You tell 'em.
yeah, a lot of folks
We'll
asked
end it here.
That's for these tomorrow.
mile -6 of the Alaska Highway, it's right here. We should probably put something up, but anyways, it's a whole other thing.
That'd be a fun thing for tourism.
That'd be kind of jokey.
Mile
-6.
-6 miles. Post, I like that.
At the old original liquor store on the corner. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. But Tourism Information Center would be lovely. I know there's a whole bunch of stuff behind that. Trestle viewing area, because right now it's just a whole whack of weeds leading to the trestle, and that's got a fence in the front, and there's a whole variety of history behind that. But anyways, ideally, if we had $1 million, you'd open up the trestle, completely fix it up so people could walk back and forth and take pictures and all that cute stuff. Liability implications, infrastructure implications, engineering implications, I'm not, but obviously that'd be beautiful, because the idea is, imagine you're a tourist coming to this village. We don't have the ice cream store anymore, we don't have the pizza place anymore, you can get some chicken wings at the gas station, but there has to be something that keeps people here.
Yeah.
They stop for gas and then they're not drawn to anything further. Obviously the wayfinding to bring them to our civic corridor, go a block off the highway and then go back, or to come through and explore the village. But when people run out of things to do, they just leave and they're beyond. So
You're hitting the core, of Taya's, emphasis there, just collaborating with stakeholders to identify, tasks that can develop tourism experiences for residents, to help keep people, having positive experiences when they do come here.
and that there are things to do and carry forward, of course. And then
It's good suggestions, good advice.
these are very random suggestions, of course, yes. And then also yard competitions, parade of homes, that kind of stuff. As people, the village is, has its civic core, its commercial core, and its industrial center, but then it has its, band of residential throughout. I think that we can enhance things we do are light competition and whatnot. I've always wondered for the summer, spring season, even in the fall, if we can do some incentivization of people to, you know, enhance their yards and front areas. You know, obviously we can do that through our bylaws in certain ways, but I'm more of a carrot versus stick kind of person. But anyways, those are fun competitions that work in other jurisdictions, are kind of a, you know, competition for this house looks like this or this and this. And then obviously lamp standards can be fancier with buckets of flowers and all that good stuff, but there's different studies as to if that improves or not. So anyways, I'm very excited to see it. I know I'm throwing some random ideas out, and then we'll have to see what the will of council is, but some of these elements are somewhat echoed in our strategic plan. So
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I'm excited.
I'm as well, and yeah, and it seems like, kind of just to echo what you initially said of this, is this realistic in the priority list? And I think a lot of these initiatives will be ongoing, and especially with working with stakeholders and the community and the residents, there's always going to be new things that we can improve on, and yeah, that's why it's exciting. Even like, I want to see specifics come to life in this timeline, but I think this should never end, realistically. So you're all good. Okay, industrial growth development plan. So this one specifically works or looks like engaging with business owners, industrial, commercial, to identify what they need, what they want, what lands are available, specifically maybe working in subdivision, working in new business development or new building development, rather, and basically gathering this data to then create a new development plan, which I can bring back to council and initiate in the summer, which would really take a lot of engagement. Just to emphasize that again. And so there's not specifics in here now, but I think it's going to be listening to what community members want to see. What kind of access do they need, or how accessible is it for them to reach out to the village for new development on their own land or industrial land, for example, or investment as well. Yeah.
I know other communities in the past, when it comes to commercial and industrial and even some of those home-based residential businesses, have sort of done like a luncheon kind of a deal session where they invite local business owners to really come in and bring forward their sort of wish list or their want list, and then really sit down and have those in-depth conversations, rather than you reaching out to them and phoning them and trying to fit in. It's sort of booking something where they all come in, they enjoy a lunch on behalf of the village. You sort of have a brainstorming session with them. Is that something that you've thought about doing in all of this kind of reaching out and communicating? Because that might be a really great way to get everybody to come on in.
No, actually, a lot of my ideas were more me approaching them, which sometimes that cold call can be a little bit off-putting dependent on their schedule. So yeah, that actually is a great idea, especially if it's an invite, there's an incentive, there's a lunch.
Yeah, well, you know, if you feed them, they will come.
Yes.
Very much is a thing.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking it might be a really, really great way to have them come in and then really sort of bring their wish list, their wants, what's currently not working for them, what they would like to see change, and then that, you know, hopefully, the hope is that everybody comes.
Yeah.
But even if you can just get, you know, half of them even showing up, that's huge.
I'm sure we get more than half.
Yeah.
When was the last time we've invited?
I don't think we've ever done it, and so that's why I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not too sure if previous mayor and council's done. They might have, but I know this body's never done it, and so I think that would be great. So I think we should budget line item that, Mr. Malkinson. I see you swiping me underneath. It's been done. Perfect. Yes, Councillor Bell.
I do like that kind of idea, and there's kind of different, spectrum of how you can approach such a thing. More formal could be like a business advisory panel, which is really informal and, or, bringing folks in, but then that's a commitment piece, and some folks might not
Yeah.
want to engage with that. The luncheon piece is good, and the luncheon could either be one or a series, hopefully,
Yeah.
but that are addressing different topics to keep it kind of grounded in the discussion from just flailing off into, something that isn't super tangible or something, whereas if it's kept, not constrained, but grounded in certain topics, it can help it kind of move along. But that's exciting stuff. I love the question about the engagement strategy. The other piece, though, is it says industrial growth development plan. And industrial zoning, it's good stuff, like it's a huge tax base, but I've always been curious as to the perspective of business growth development, because the future of work is evolving. And so, of course, we'll still have our commercial businesses, our industrial businesses, but I've always been an advocate for folks responsibly hosting businesses within their own homes even, to experiment with different businesses that work for them. It fails, it works, it doesn't work. Most businesses fail. That's the tragedy of it, but that's also the interesting exploration of what works. And folks to do it within the confines of their own home, the risks are lower. They can experiment with this business model, that business model, and then potentially evolve into a commercial setting. And that's unfortunately kind of how our bylaws, not to stand on a soapbox here, but our bylaws are currently phrased in a way where it's like, you kind of test it that you should always be gravitating towards commercial space. Some business ventures are just not intended for that. Or now, in the world of a lot of online commerce or online activities, folks don't need a commercial space because their business, their consumer base isn't actually in the physical world driving up to their house.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's actually entertaining that because the evolution of work will change very rapidly, and we need to be on the forefront of that as a jurisdiction. So if I may, I think the phrasing of business growth development plan kind of makes it more encompassing, if I may. But I get where this is rooted, but the economy is evolving.
Fair comment. The naming of this one did come from the fund, like Industrial Growth and Economic Development Plan. So again, if there's no objection from that on council, that's something that we could try to reframe and make broader. Get greater participation.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor.
I would like to suggest that we move this maybe to item number 1. And that reason being is I see potential when you do reach out or invite people out to the village office here, that there could be zoning implications, and I know we're going into a zoning review here very shortly. And my mind is so wide open about the zoning in our industrial zone right now, I don't even know if we need it to be zoned. So
James. I hate when you do this. Make it work.
well, we're quite restrictive. I think we can make it more open.
I do think you are correct. It would definitely give us opportunity to sort of work into that zoning conversation, which we've talked about having as well. And so it could kind of be a 2 birds, 1 stone.
There's a lot of overlap.
A lot of overlap there, yeah.
I would hate to just go through the whole zoning and then all of a sudden we get a bunch of feedback
Yeah.
and it's like, oh well,
Well, I mean, I think our goal for having our zoning plan completed is 2026, is it not?
Oh, it's definitely 26, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a invite here too. I'll get to that a little bit later, but
Okay.
yeah, we're charting the course for basically the first draft to be presented to you folks early 2026.
Okay. So this could actually potentially tie into that as well, which would make up really.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
It actually also does kind of tie into ongoing accountabilities. Of course, my role specifics and responsibilities, but also sort of mimicking everything that we've discussed of me going door to door, me engaging with businesses, whether they be industrial or small local businesses. Kind of tie that in with general marketing and promotion. So something that I started working on would be an investment information sheet or a Kuskoopie Village information sheet for tourists or for businesses kind of alike, something tangible that when we do, for lack of better words, maybe go for a cold call or show up at a business as an introductory kind of basis. this is what we're doing. We want to open up conversation or feedback from residents and from businesses. So kind of continuously doing that, especially face to face. And then also same goes for the development process and the conversation that we just had. And then additionally acting as a liaison with regional ECDEV officers to continuously stay informed with funding opportunities, projects, any kind of potential programs. And this is really speaking to my communication and just kind of reaching farther than businesses in Coos alone, but extending my services to what is going on in the region, how can we tie that back in to better the village.
To add to Taya, like, this was us looking for loose ends as well. You know, there's a series of things that are included in her position profile, and we just wanted to, there are some relevant things that, you know, we were thinking, okay, if we're council, you know, it'd be valuable to know that these are still on the radar for this coming year, so.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
And then lastly, kind of continuation of that, more reporting accountability. So as for my services and responsibilities, meeting with Duncan on a regular basis, at least monthly, and then reporting to council bi-monthly, and then also NDIT reporting as required, as well as being prepared for any adjustments that will likely come my way or anything that may change this work plan throughout the year. Just kind of having the readiness and having the plan already set so that when a curveball does come, we know how to approach it, we know how to attack it, but we can still continue the work. And that, yeah, it's more so just, again, emphasizing my accountability and how this all ties in to the main priorities that we discuss, and they overlap, but my plan is to show up and get the work done and stay accountable. So
Wonderful. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Ms. Cant while she is still up there? I was waiting.
Well, I appreciate it. So what type of methods are you wishing to utilize? Not having to get super specific with it, but I'm hearing there's a lot of qualitative where you're going to engage stakeholders, the luncheons, the cold calling, that kind of stuff, getting the verbal feedback, and then that leads into, oh, this idea, that idea, this and that. I'm also intrigued as to about the quantitative stuff, you know, business revitalization tax. It's kind of a numbers game, honestly, in a lot of ways. I'm curious as to how we're going to base that, and then how we're going to kind of propose it. And obviously not looking for super specifics right now, but I'm just generally curious as to the methods you wish to utilize in the pursuit of the discovery of information and then the presentation of that respective information.
It would kind of tie into a data analysis approach of using that to draft a plan. So that does kind of reference to not having those specifics of whether it be Duncan and I or just myself alone workshopping a plan to present. But I think to answer your question with an actual answer, it would be a method of recording and seeing what is already in our plan or what is currently ongoing that people are continuously saying or that the residents want to see happen from a business standpoint and from a residential standpoint. And not just saying, okay, just so you know, I'm here and I want to see this happen, but to really draft the plan and create actionable items that we can check off one by one, rather saying, tomorrow I'm going to go to this business and introduce myself, but then not have a further action item. And I know this may be not the specific answer that you're looking for, but that's my personal method or approach, is action items and checking them off to create the plan or draft that we will present. And then we can actually see the work through. You know, it's not just informal communication. And yeah, does that kind of answer your question a little bit?
I do appreciate that. And the other piece is there's just so many interesting documents that already exist. There's a PRD trails plan from 2008 or 2010 that's just been kind of sitting there. And, you know, bits and pieces get put together, but there have been so many incredible ideas and so many amazing plans, and we even have some of our own as well. That never kind of got implemented, and sometimes it's a funding thing, it's sometimes a capacity thing. But I think we're very excited to get a lot of things move forward. And it helps us, it armors us with something that says this is, or helps inform us as to something that we can pursue, but this is multifaceted, you know. I wish we could do absolutely everything, but only so much time and resources.
Mr. Malcolmson?
I don't want to belabor it too much. The qualitative is challenging sometimes on EDO, you know, where it's how can you connect investment decisions tangibly, you know, to, you know, an output or an incremental, you know, incremental step that was taken by an EDO. I think Ty is right in reinforcing that, you know, some of the plans and the deliverables via the plan will in some ways be the quantitative. But yeah, there are some items where RTE, yes, you know, X number of applications, X number of dollars, that kind of X number of dollars in investment. So there are some things that we can tease out. But yeah, I think you're hitting on one of the challenges associated with that.
Wonderful.
And my final point, because I'm interested, this is a very engaging topic. It seems as though there's two spheres, but they're semi-overlapping. One is business, which leads into the business improvement plans, the revitalization tax. But also there's the people living in the community actually, you know, doing their daily lives here. And that's the Main Street, the tourism, and the parks one. And so, although there's overlap, I'm curious as to would the engagement, well, I guess the engagement would kind of be somewhat separate, but everyone's invited to everything kind of thing, right? I'm curious as to how those engagement sessions, would they overlap? Would they be separate? Would it be each individual item, or would it be kind of, hey, you know, we're talking about tourism and parks today, or something like that? I know that's very specific, and obviously, you know, maybe I shouldn't even ask that question at this time. I'm just fascinated about it because of the spheres of engagement and how to approach that, but I'm just interested. I'll leave it there. I'm not even going to ask that as a question. I'm going to phrase it as a statement.
No, I appreciate it, and it's definitely something that is really important to consider, and I want all the feedback, and that's why I'm here today, so I appreciate it.
That is wonderful. I'm very excited to see what you get done over the next year. I think that you really nailed some of the major things that we've been not only wanting but needing in our community for some time, and it gives me hope that we're one step closer to getting those things done, which is really nice. Yes.
This is my last comment. I think I owe you an apology because at the beginning here I was like, can we get all these things done? Like, it's great having a plan. Can we actually achieve these things? You've convinced me that we can. So
Great. No apology, no apology necessary. I think that's why I kind of reinstated in the beginning is that there is a lot of overlap, and while we don't have the specifics right now, working with the community, Duncan and I kind of hitting this head first, we want to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Well then with that, I would like to make the recommendation that the committee of the whole recommend that the council approve the 2025-2026 Village of Pouce-Coupe Economic Development Work Plan as presented. As amended.
Well, I
They
have
were-
reference to September and infrastructure master plan.
Yes.
Folks want to see that earlier, right?
Yes, yeah, so as Councilor Wall said. Can I get a seconder on that? Seconded by Councilor Wall, thank you. Councilor Ravel?
September, October for infrastructure master plan, but then also the retitling of industrial growth development to business growth development if possible. I present that amendment.
I
Accept the friendly amendment.
Sounds good.
I think if it's not any insult to council, I might recommend, you know, the subsequent meeting that we also just paper that in the strat plan as well, just a small amendment.
Yeah.
But just to make sure that it aligns.
Oh, just make sure the titles are
The wording.
so it's
Yeah.
okay.
And kind of the,
The strat plan is like his
yeah.
Bible almost.
Titles in here
Coming up.
Yeah, no, so in our strat plan, if you look under our action plan, in there it does actually say infrastructure, it doesn't say business, and you're looking to see business.
This is industrial growth development instead of, so
Business.
tie the titles together.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's arguably semantics, but I try to really reinforce the importance of that plan.
Wonderful.
Well, why play semantics on one end and not conclude it on the other? Fair enough.
All right, I may call the question, and all those in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous and carried. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, Moving on to item 8.2.
The Committee of the Whole recommend council to authorize the proposed scope of work for the Pooskoopi Fire Hall feasibility study and approved village cost ceiling of $50,000 to be implemented upon execution of the revised Peace River Regional District funding agreement for the fire hall design project at the next council meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Rabble, thank you. That was a mouthful, wasn't
I
it?
was excited for that one.
Say that 10 times fast. Yes, Mr. Malcolmson.
Your worship, you might have good background on this as well, because you were present at the meeting where this moved forward. But yeah, obviously a little bit of positive news from the regional district
You're
on.
talking about 8.3, not 8.2.
Okay.
I was,
So-
you know what, I almost did the same thing. We're talking about the feasibility study, are we not?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you
I
were talking
thought
about
that
this.
was A2.
Yeah, no, you're right. I thought you were talking about the EOC thing.
Oh, you scared me.
Oh, stop panicking. Please continue, I'm rude.
Yes, so there's some positive news at the last regional district meeting. The request that you folks had made to try to get a little bit more flexibility to do an incremental, the next increment in the, pathway to, revitalizing or improving, responding to some of the, needs that have been identified for some years at the fire hall. As we already, obviously saw validity to that, and I think we are awaiting funding agreement amendment, to be proposed to ourselves. So this recommendation is conditional on that, but I do have Blair here this evening in case you folks have any questions for him. He's obviously a leading voice on this also. So.
You know, I was, when this came up, came back to the Peace River Regional District regarding us making that change in the language regarding the $250,000 for the fire hall expansion project regarding adding in feasibility study and public engagement, there was no pushback. They completely got it. Director Hebert for Area D, who is our main funder through the Peace River Regional District, completely supported that. And actually felt that would be a fair direction for us to move in. And so the $50,000 cap is $50,000 out of the 250. Yeah. I presented that number to him when I was there, and he felt more than comfortable with it, and actually made the joke that if we go over the 250,000, though, it's our responsibility to figure it out, which I thought was very fair of him to say that. Yes.
My one question on this is, if we approve this, it has to go to a council meeting, and we have to approve it there.
Yes.
And if we approve that, which I'm hoping we do, we can just start on the feasibility and public engagement?
Yes.
Yeah, sure can.
Cool. We'll get the signed agreement back. Yep, we can do it.
Okay. So just wait on a piece of paper.
Yeah, we'll wait in a couple of signatures, but.
Piece of paper in a council meeting, but yes.
Okay. Councilor Rowland?
For clarification, is this $50,000 funded by the village and then reimbursed through the
Yes.
Peace River Regional District? Oh,
If
okay.
the language that they proposed remains unchanged from the original draft, then
Yes, that's correct.
So this is just to start the wheels turning?
Yes.
Okay. And then this regards the beginning of the feasibility studies and then whatever scopes are required with that, which are being determined in all their specifics, right?
Through your worship, there is a draft scope that Fire Chief has provided in the report here. I can read it out for you if you'd like. It's evaluate the existing fire hall's condition, functionality, and site capacity, determine space and operational requirements based on current project. Am I being annoying? Should I just?
No, please.
No, this is public
Determine
service.
space and operational requirements based on current and projected needs. Explore multiple development options, including renovation, expansion, or new construction. Review potential safety and decontamination improvements for the building, or for the fire hall. Identify memoranda of understanding opportunities with EHS in search of and rescue. Provide preliminary concept designs and cost estimates for each option. Build cost projections for life cycle costs for the proposed improvements. Identify possible funding sources, including provincial and federal grants. Do preliminary community engagement on the future of the Pooskoopi Fire Hall. And deliver a comprehensive report summarizing the findings, analysis, concept options, including recommendations and next steps that will enable the village to proceed directly to procurement of detailed design services.
So to clarify for public transparency, essentially the village has watched these $1 million grants float by, and we weren't able to go for them because we had to actually figure out a design and engineering drawings and all that good stuff that grant applications would like to actually see. And so the regional district, through Director Heater, have actually said, you know what, we'll pony up the $250,000 so the village of Pouce Coupe doesn't have to pay that directly. Obviously, the village has to compensate staff time and stuff, which are within our administrative affairs. But essentially, the long and the short is, this work helps define what we'd like to potentially do, so that when grants come up, we're ready to go after them. And essentially, besides administrative and regular costs that are contained within the village, this is being funded through the Peace River Regional District.
Your worship, yes.
Yeah.
Larry and my time are on the house, but you guys have it in your strat plan, so we understand that it's a priority of yours that you want us to continue investigating. So.
Wonderful. Yes?
I don't mean to keep barking up the tree, but this is because Pouce is a regional hub of service provision, and we help service Area D. And I think it's critical that we move forward with this work.
I'd like to make a point of privilege to potentially vary the agenda, if that's okay.
Right now, we're in a recommendation.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about it now though. I was thinking we do this one and then the next one, and then we could take a recess and then go into the special meeting because we do have a fire chief present if there are questions, so we're not sitting here all night.
Fire chief is present for this item and the next item, and yeah, if you do want to, I presume Fire Smart is what you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, yeah, so let's finish with those after 8.3, make the recommendation to vary, and then we'll deal with it then.
I just didn't want to be surprised when I go like,
You just surprised me now instead? Okay. Okay, all right, so the recommendation on the floor, are we ready to vote? Okay, I'm gonna call the question then, all those in favor? And that is unanimous and carried, wonderful, thank you very much. All right, recommendation 8.3.
That the Committee of the Whole recommends to Council to direct staff to engage with the Peace River Regional District to continue exploring regional EOC and ESS coordination, and that Council amend the Village of Pouce Coupe 2024 Corporate Strategic Plan by removing the action Build an Emergency Services Center and replacing it with Collaborate with the PRRD to deliver regional emergency operations and support services at the next Council meeting.
Seconded by Councillor Wall, thank you. Yeah, this came up at the last council meeting, obviously through my role as the director for the for Pouce Coupe for the Peace River Regional District. This conversation has been happening since last spring, and at the last PRD meeting, they did actually make motion on really adding funding and creating funding functions within the Peace River Regional District, which is our large leap towards them creating a regional EOC and ESS center. And currently that's sort of being supported regionally by all other municipalities as well, with that large regional focus. And so, same as the city of Dawson Creek, the village of Pouce Coupe works very, very closely with the Peace River Regional District, especially whenever there is any form of evacuation into our region or our area specifically. Our fire chief has worked alongside the city of Dawson Creek and the Peace River Regional District on multiple of those calls. And so this is just really bumping that up and giving us the regional ability to, handle those large concerns or disasters or evacuations whenever they happen. And frankly, I think that this is a great opportunity for the village to continue to work within that regional approach that we're constantly working towards. Yes?
I'm in favor of a regional approach in regard to emergency operations and responses. Because we can draw from a larger pool of resources, we can pool our resources together. We can have one team of staffing, potentially through the regional district, which they already really have, and they're going to expand that with things that are coming down the pipes. But essentially having that, because it's able to move around and able to work with everybody, but also it's the discussions we had at UBCM regarding with the Ministry of Emergency Preparedness about the funding and grants that are coming down. And I want to avoid duplicating efforts where every single municipality has a emergency person and all this and all that. It gets too much, and it would actually potentially not have the
It's like
same.
muddying things when everybody has their own center. Yeah.
Exactly. And admittedly, if Poos had an incident, it would need to evacuate probably from itself. It wouldn't be like we're going from one side to the other or something,
Yeah.
you know? So I'm in favor of a regional approach in this regard. My question truly becomes, though, with the announcements and discussions with the ministry, does a regional approach align with the grant funding opportunities that may come available to us? I think they would still be willing to engage with that. Obviously, the RD is kind of on board. They already have this approach in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
We're just adding on to it. We've got additional requirements coming down on us. So my real question is, does the funding and the requirements coming down from the province, are they okay with us having a regional approach with this? That's really the question at the end of the day.
Do you want to answer this one, Ms. Robinson, or do you want me to?
I've got some comments, but if you want to take it.
Yeah, no, so this is the approach that many regional districts are actually taking, due to the fact that it does actually meet that grant requirement more than if individual municipalities within a region were going for them. I'm thinking, from my understanding with engagements with the province, they're really wanting regional districts to sort of take this on in a regional, in the regional approach rather than individual municipalities doing it. Is that your understanding as well?
And I think, Blair's got some good comments. He's been in some good preliminary conversations that the RD has been having. I'm not sure if you have any further.
Yeah, no, for grant funding, there's a bigger pool, and it's like, if we apply for one versus them, we're gonna get this much. We apply with them, we get this much. And then they're also talking like a north and south, so like 2 groups. So basically, we have a, you know, like, big fire we had a couple years ago. We can actually pull from Fort Nelson area to come down and help us.
Oh.
So it's not just like 20, 30 people,
Oh.
so when you pull from them, vice versa.
Mhm.
It's a big win-win.
Okay.
To emphasize Blair's point, like, regionalization based on operational efficacy, you know, providing more options for, emergency response, more flexibility, a little bit more cohesion.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, then I'm ready to call the question. All those in favor? That is unanimous and carried. Wonderful news. Would you like to make the recommendation?
I would like to make the recommendation that the committee of the whole take a brief recess
And move into.
and move into the special council meeting. But we have to recess first and then, yeah.
Okay, so you'd like to take my pen is like not working, but I need to make a line to know where we're leaving off. All right, can I get a seconder on Councilor Wall's recommendation, seconded by Councilor Gravel? All right, I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor? Okay, I'm gonna take a recess, and then we're gonna move into the special.
Past your bedtime time?
No. I wish that I had a room at that time.
That's mine, jeez.
Yeah.
I've been getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning at
Oh,
work.
wow.
Oh, right.
Okay.